painting parties. I'm Lisa, and we are going to be doing our weekly live free paint party here on Facebook. Or you might be watching me on YouTube. So hello for anyone who's watching me, whether you're watching me right now when I'm doing it, or whether you're watching this as a recording. I appreciate that you're here, and I hope you have lots of fun painting with me today. For today's event, we are doing a paint from photo, and we are going to be recreating, ooh, that's a hard to see with my lights going. So we are doing a paint from photo. Oh yeah, we're always going to get a light going in my lovely studio of my house going on here. But anyways, there we go. So we have a beautiful farm scene called Spring on the Farm. So we're going to be recreating this photo for today's session in paint. And what I'll be doing is I'll be talking you through how I'll be going about recreating this. And I encourage you to have fun, and if you have your own style, your own way to do it, please feel free to let us know in the comments or share your tips and your tricks. We'd love to do that. This photo has been given to us graciously by Michael Lyons Photography. So he is a photographer out of Burlington, Ontario, and out here in Canada. And he has let me use like all the photos that we do from Paint from Photo, which has been fantastic. So thank you to him. Check him out if you like his work. For tonight's session, we're going to be starting a little bit after 6, just to make sure anyone who wants to paint along with me live has the opportunity to do so and to find this and to get everything ready. I'll go through the painting supply list in just a moment, and we'll go from there. So if you want to let me know where you're tuning in from, I love to hear it. I'm here in Ontario, so it's pretty mild today. Actually, it was like snowing quite a bit, but nothing stuck, so the weather was quite nice. So I definitely am feeling this like spring vibe with everything growing and getting it going, so it should be quite fun. So yeah, if you have any questions or any comments, just feel free to write them in. I'll keep an eye as I go. Just if I don't respond right away, then don't be upset. I will make sure I take a look and check it out. For today's session, I'll run through the supplies that we will be using. Let me just bring it down a bit just so you can kind of see it. But before I do that, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this image available as I'm painting. I'll move the camera so you can see my canvas and this image on your screen. However, it will be quite small. It might still be kind of annoying to see, so you may want to take a look at the post from earlier today that shows the image, and you may want to take a screen capture or just have that available for you so you can reference that directly yourself. Just so you can make sure that you have it easier for you to view than on the camera or the screen there. Okay, so I will have that available though. I'm using a canvas board. It's 11 by 14 size. Again, you can feel free to use whatever size you so desire. That's what I'm going to be using. I do prefer, I do often use canvas boards, although I do prefer stretched canvas, so it's more of a space situation than anything else. But that is what I'll be using today. We always use acrylic paint when we paint together. Again, you can use whatever medium you so like, but when I speak to how I'm painting, it will be based in acrylic paint. So acrylic is a water-based paint. However, when it dries, it's permanent. So just keep that in mind. If you're wearing anything that you don't want to get paint on, you may want to get changed, just in case. And the paint colors that I recommend having for any of our paint sessions are the primary colors. So if you have red, blue, and yellow, and if you have black and white, then you can make anything from there, especially if you're starting off and you don't want to invest too much in different paints. Just get those basic, like a nice medium tone of each one, like a nice solid color, and then you're good to go. If you have other colors that you've got, that's totally fine too. So if you already have a pre-mixed green or brown or anything else, you can feel free to use that in this image as well, and you can change it up how you want to. So in this field, there's just like little sprigs of bright green that's just popped up. If you want to change it up and have like rows of tulips, or have like different things coming up, or actually, you know, however you want to do it, if you want to have it a little bit further along in the process, you can change it up. You can change the color of the barn, you can make the sky totally different. Feel free to make it your own. Again, if you're at the skills, if you feel confident, or if you want to go that way, have fun with that. So in terms of the paint, I've been preferring to use this brand called Artist's Loft, and I got this one from Michael's. This paint has been pretty great in terms of when it dries. It dries with a bit of a shine, so it makes everything look a little bit like classier, a little bit nicer. So I like that about it. However, I find the paint pretty thin, so that's the one thing I I'm pretty mixed about it, so I tend to not get as much like opaque coverage, which is what I prefer. So I'm a little mixed on that still, but I use that. And then I also use Crafters acrylic, which is what I've bought from the dollar store, so like $1 a bottle. And with these ones, they dry with a matte finish, but you can interchange them, and so I've been doing that. I find that this does have a bit of a thicker base to a lot of them. Some of them are, there's, you know, dollar store paints. One of a few are kind of like really bad. So sometimes I'll get one that's really runny. But the majority of them have a nice consistency, so I do like to use these too. So I'll be going back and forth with using these paints as I go, and I'll talk you through how I'm going to be going and what I'm using. If you have like a palette just to pop your paint on as you go. If you painted with me before, you know that I like to mix a lot of things right on the canvas. Like I kind of apply a lot of paint and I do like wet on wet kind of mixing and blending right on the canvas. That's what I like to do. If you don't have to. Again, I'll just walk you through my process and you can feel free to process it or do it however you so desire. Then we have paint, we have water, sorry, no paint. We have water for our paint. I have 2 containers just ready to go. And I suggest having at least 3 brush sizes. Something that's large to give you a lot of coverage. This one is a size 10 flat brush. And then a medium, this one's a size 2 flat. And then something that's a fine point, which is misleading, but when it's wet, it's actually a fine point. And that's, I think this one, I think is a size 2, but I like my size 4 a little bit better. Although the bristle started going a little bit wonky and I had to like trim it. So we'll see how it corresponds to the haircut I gave it. Hopefully it still works nicely in my favor. I also have paper towel as well. So often when I'm painting, I don't really use the water so much to clean my brushes when I'm in the middle of it, or if I'm going to be using the brush again. I use the paper towel to like take off excess paint quite a bit, so I'll also refer to that too as I go. Okay, so we'll get started in just a moment or two. Hi, Kathy. Oh, I see. I don't think I've ever heard someone say that before. Kathy says that her husband's not home to watch her chicken, so she has to watch the replay. That sounds like a good reason not to right now. Again, if you're not able to watch this right now, it's totally fine. This will be available for you to watch at any point, really. I'm going to keep it up under the videos tab on my Facebook page, and it will also be on my YouTube channel, cross-posted this exact video there. So wherever you prefer to watch, you can go ahead and do so. Also, if you end up like tuning in or having to leave or whatever, you can rewind it as well, like in the process, if you wanted to do that in the moment. Also have some water with you or something to drink, because this might take, I schedule the paint parties for about 2 hours, so I would say take about 2 hours to do. Okay, so why don't we get started? So I'm just going to reposition my props, I guess. Get you repositioned so you can see it a little better. Okay. Is it straight so the light doesn't shine the same way? All right. I think we're good. Hopefully the iPad doesn't fall on my paint. Excitement. Okay, so the first thing I want to start off with this painting is like with all paintings, I like to start off with whatever's furthest in the background. So I'm going to start with the sky. So I want to get a nice coverage for the sky, and I want to start playing with some of the, like when I paint, I'm going to be putting in some where when I stroke to kind of have that vibe of like clouds already kind of floating in there. That sounds a little bit weird, I know. Bear with me, and then I'll show you what I mean when I'm going through it. So before I even start, in my head, I'm thinking about, okay, how big is the sky going to live on my canvas? So if I'm trying to recreate this, I look and I say, okay, it's about halfway, a little bit more than halfway down my canvas. So I want my sky to come a little bit further than the halfway point on my canvas. So I want the sky to kind of hit maybe up to like there or so. That's where I want to go down until. But think of that first. And then I look at the sky and say, okay, there's some interesting colors going on here. I see a lot of blues and I see yellows. What I don't see is green. And what happens is when we do this type of blending, it can be a little scary, because if you mix your yellow into your blue, you'll get green. And that's not what we want. So I'll show you some tips as we go of how we're going to avoid having a green sky. If that happens, it's not the end of the world, but I'll show you how to be able to maneuver that process, okay? So before we start, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to get some of the paints on my palette. So I am going to be using quite a bit of white as like my base to get my canvas wet and also to start the process of the blending right on it. So I'm using this soft body acrylic paint, and I'll show you how much I've put on there. So I put like a nice blob of white paint, and then I'm going to get some blue, and this blue from Artist Lock is it's very pretty blue. It's very bright, but I don't know if I'm going to want it fully. I might dip into some of my Crafters acrylic depending on the color. It's a very bright one there. I kind of put a little bit there. And then I might put the yellow on just so I have it ready, but we won't be using it right away. I try not to put all my paint on my palette immediately because the paint can dry pretty quickly. It's quite a bit. It's probably a little bit too much yellow, to be honest. So let me see. All right. So I'm going to get let me see if there's any questions first before we start. Hi, Doreen. Oh, I'm so glad you're joining in and watching and painting along. Yay. That makes me so happy. Okay. So, we also obviously have the grayish clouds, and again, I'm not going to get the black on my just yet, but soon. Okay, so the way I'm going to start this is I want to get paint on here so I can start blending and making it fun. So I'm going to get quite a bit of white paint on my big brush, and I'm just going to start putting white paint on my canvas. Okay, I'm going to go pretty quickly because I want to just get it on, right? I want to get the paint on the canvas. I don't care like how I'm putting it on. Like I don't care if I'm doing like X's or making it super smooth. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to get a nice layer, a nice coverage. However far we want the sky to live. I just keep going in and grabbing blobs of white. Again, it's tricky because you can't really see it too much. Maybe you can see it, but it's slightly glossier, I suppose. But trust me, there's a nice layer of paint. And it's not like it's not like thin. It's like but it's not super thick, so it's just like a nice amount. But the whole canvas, or the whole area where we want the sky to live, is covered in white paint right now. And so from this point, now I want to start putting the blue in. And with the same brush, I'm going to just grab some blue. And I'm going to just start putting some sweeps. And as I go, like there'll be less and less blue paint on my brush, essentially. I'm just going to put some sweeps kind of in the white paint. That's what I'm going to do. Everything's still really wet. Now that it's still wet, I'm just going to use the paper towel. And I am going a little quickly here because I want everything to stay wet as I'm doing this process. So you have to kind of like let go a bit if you're a bit of a control freak like I am at times. I'm going to get some more white paint back on my brush. And now I'm just going to go into the areas and start to go on top of what we just painted. Just start getting some of these swoopy sky. And I'm thinking very much about like, okay, well, we have like some nice like movement. So that's what I'm trying to recreate as I do this. Okay, but I still want those gaps with white. I still want it to be lighter in some spots, and I want it to have a little bit darker in some other spots. And that's starting this process. Now we already have this sweepy vibe in the sky happening. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more blue, and I'm going to just add some more blue in some of the areas I want to be a bit more prominent. And this blue isn't really cutting it for me, to be honest. It's very pretty, I have to say. I really like this blue a lot. But I think I'm going to need to dip into some of my Crafters acrylic just to get it a little bit more menacing, almost. I want it a little bit darker, a little bit more in your face. Okay. Yeah, I think I want to go with, you know what, actually no, I'm going to try and stick with the colors like I said. So if you just have black, I'm going to get a little bit of black on my palette. And with black you want to be cautious because black can really just overpower your whole thing. So you just want to use like a little bit. And I want to put a little bit, and so I do want this blue to get a little darker. I'm just going right over my blue area. And everything's still very wet. Just added a little bit of darkness like that to it. And in this, I'm not attempting to fully recreate this. I want to just capture my version of it. So, like again, if you're looking for supremely realistic, that's not the vibe that I usually go with when I paint. So, hopefully you're okay with that. Otherwise, you need to watch someone else. There's a lot of people who do like more realistic inspired, but I like just getting the vibe of it. Okay. So I'm liking that. I think it has a nice feel to start. I'm also trying to get the sides of it as well. So try to get the sides of your canvas as you go. Okay. Some like loops around here too, which I like. Okay. Just wipe off my brush a bit. Get some more blue. I'm just going back and forth and just playing with some of the colors until I get the sweeps that I am digging with the sky. And I'm using the white to help me keep things blended. Okay. And I'm just going to clear off my brush as I've been doing. I'm going to get more white because now my white paint has dried from the bottom part and I just want to get it wet again. So now in the white area here, I want to start getting some of this yellow happening. And I just want my yellow to go in this area and not in the blue, otherwise it's going to produce green and I don't want that. So go back to get more white. In a little bit. Back here you can't really see. It's just going to be like the barn and all the trees and stuff, so I shouldn't worry too much about that. Okay. There we go. Let me make sure all of you are doing good. Oh, thanks, Colleen, for messaging. No, I know. I know. Last week we all talked about how Wednesdays are like church nights, and a lot of you guys are busy, and so I was debating because I was thinking that I might need to change my paint nights because of my work schedule. So we'll see about that. I'll take that. If I do have to change it, I'll take that into consideration. But I'll probably reach out to see what days people would prefer it to be. And if I can accommodate, I will. Okay, I am gonna get one of my other blues. I have like, it was like a cool one. I think that, you know what, maybe it's fun. There was a really cool one from Crafters Acrylic. This one's still pretty bright. This one's called Peacock Blue. But there was one called Copenhagen Blue that was almost like a gray blue on its own, which was really quite nice. I think this Peacock Blue is going to be very similar to the other one that I have from the Artist Loft. But it's a little darker. So yeah, so the difference of it's just a little bit richer. That's the Peacock Blue. I think I'm going to try and see if by adding it a little bit will get me some of the values that I want over here. Whoa. Okay, that's a lot more intense than I had anticipated. But I think that's working. That's getting me what I want in this like darker vibe right there. That's cooler. Okay, cool. Good job, Peacock Blue. Excellent work. Okay, let's see. A little bit more here. My paint's already drying a lot more right now, so it's not as smooth when it blends, but it's still getting a nice feeling from it, so we're good with that. Okay. And I don't know if I'm actually going to specifically put in the clouds. I think I'm just going to have this feeling of the clouds by having this like wispy streakiness going on. I think I might put in a little bit more detail around some of these darker ones around the middle once I get my sun in it, but for now I think stick with that. So again, I'm just using like white on my brush when I'm trying to like soften or blend spots, and I find that's helping. Okay. Cool. That's not bad. Oh, thanks so much, Doreen. You're such a sweetheart. Hi, Heather. I'm glad that you made it from Idaho. That's fantastic. Perfect. Yeah, you can rewind it too, I think. So if you need to go back a bit, you can definitely do that. I know I go pretty quickly when I do my sky, so I apologize. I know a few people have said that. Again, if anyone's struggling with it, I find it really helps. Again, like try to let go of your control. And I say that because I'm a control freak and I want things to look perfect all the time. And so that's the best way to enjoy this process is to just look at like the colors and the vibe and just go with it and not stress about how it should look perfect. Just have fun with it. And then it usually comes together that way. At least for me, that's what I find. And people have said the same thing. So enjoy that process. Okay, I do have a little bit of green going on, but I'm going to cover it up with some dark clouds. That's my plan. So that should be all right. And I don't know if I want to put in some other stuff. I think I'm pretty happy with the swoopiness. I really like it. It's different, but I think I'm going to keep mine like this. That's going to be my version, I think. All right. I'm going to wait till this part dries before I put my bright white sun right in that center. So once the paint is dry, then you can always paint right on top with acrylic. That's what's really great about it. And acrylic can dry pretty darn quickly. So I want to get that going. If you have like blow dryer or something, sometimes people like to use that. I like to wait manually when eventually it will dry. Okay, so we'll let that do its thing. I think I'm okay with my sky right now. I don't know if I want to touch it up more at the moment. yeah, I think I want to get my sun in, and then I'll play more with clouds if I want to go that route. Okay. So for that purpose, let me think if I want to start putting in my land. Don't know if I want to go there yet. I'll just give it a moment. I'm going to just like sit for a second and let it do its thing before I move on. Hi, Denise. I'm glad you're tuning in. Yay, I got some of my Canadians here. That's exciting. And then Andrea, hi, from Saskatchewan. That's fantastic. Oh, that's so great. Oh, this is good. I'm glad you're joining. I hope you enjoy your time painting with me. That's so cool. Yeah, if you have any tips or tricks, Andrea, feel free to share. Like if there's a different way you do it, like I want this community to be about that, right? So feel free to share anything that you like. So this is definitely, yeah, I definitely have my own style going about it. Okay. I'm getting impatient. I really want to like put that guy in, but it's not a good idea when it's wet. I have to stop myself. Okay. What I'm going to do is I want a little bit lighter at the bottom. Here I think is already, yeah, it's already dry enough. So I'm going to put a little bit more white here just to like lighten up my yellow sky on this side a bit. I'm going to bring it over even though I know there's things that are going to cover it, but I can't help myself. I'm just going to go over a bit the areas that got a little touch of green, which I did not want them to get. Now to get the blend going, like in some of the drier areas, you can use a little bit of water, but always use less than what you think you need, because the more water you do, it can actually end up like pulling the paint off of the canvas, and we don't want that. We don't want to have like weird like spots on it. And if you see that happening, you just need to like stop touching it for a bit until it dries, because you'll just keep pulling it off if that starts to happen to you. Acrylic's a little finicky like that. Okay. I think I'm going to put my big old brush in my paint water for now while I play with how I want my bright sun to be. So I'm going to use my thin brush just to decide where I want that to go, which I think is going to be about here. And I'm just going to put like a yellow circle, smaller than what you would want, and then just make it a little bigger as you go. If the paint is already dry for you to do that. If it's not, wait until it's dry and then do it on top. Okay. And I'm just going to bring it out because the sun is not, there's no like defined point. It's just this like orb of light that turns into this like bright yellow. So as I go from here, I'm just going to start moving it outwards. And I think that will start, that's really hard for you to see that, isn't it? I'll move it closer to the camera in a moment. Using a little bit of the yellow on the edge of it just to start blending it into the yellow that's happening on the sides. Okay, so let's bring it, my white orb that's hard to even see when I bring it closer, but that's what I've done there. Just to emphasize that there's that light source right in that center. And I just put a little bit of yellow around it as well. So I have that going on. Okay. I think at this point, I want to play a little bit and put some of these dark clouds in. I know for one of our previous paintings that we did, I was really apprehensive of putting the dark clouds in the sky. And when I initially did it, I really, really disliked it. But it's grown on me. After I walked away from the painting and came back, I was like, oh, no, that looks kind of cool. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of black into my white paint to get kind of like a dark gray happening. And then I want to just put some of these like wispy, weird clouds. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to put like some like lines, and I'm just going to like thicken them up a little bit. They're going to feel really weird. I feel like they're going to like ruin your sky. And you don't have to do it. You can see how I do it, and then if you decide you want to do it too, cool. And if you don't, that's totally fine. They are a little scary, I find. And I'm just going to use some white to soften up some of the ends. Okay, so I think that works. That one is a, ooh. That's what I have for like my little weird blackish cloud in the sky. And then I have a few little ones that are like here, and then there's like here. Okay. Put a few little ones, little guys over there. Got some with white paint and just soften it a bit. Soften it, but I still want to have the darkness. Okay. So I'm moving my canvas a bit so I can. I'm trying to see the image as I go too. Okay, and then what else? We have some more happening. We have some that kind of go into the sun, so let's play with that. Got like a weird creaky black line into my sun. And then we're gonna comes under there too. I'm just gonna soften it with white. Just the bottom line. Okay. And do we want to put some on the other side? Maybe we will. I don't know. I wasn't going to, but maybe we will put a little bit more. There's like a darker one here. So on this side, if you want to put a little bit of black into your blue, just to get like a really dark blue, I think that will look better on that side because there's some blues happening up there. I'm going to make this guy a little thicker. Okay, and then I'm going to get some white. And again, I'm going to mess up this line a bit. So it's not like super dark. I don't want that to happen. Okay, that works. Cool. Okay. I guess we'll put one up here. Yeah, I'm going on a tangent. I wasn't even going to do these. I'm doing it. Take a leap. Okay. Going on my thin brush to do this too. And I keep going back to get more white paint on my brush because as soon as it disappears or becomes too gray, it's not really good for me anymore. So unless it's the top too. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to be good with that for now, and then maybe I'll add more after, but I think I'm going to leave it like that for the time being. Although, you know what, though, there are some other, I'm going to want to play with those too. Okay. We're going to like a darker gray here. So I'm just going to put that darker gray cloud on the side here too. I'm going to use a little bit of water just to soften that line on this one. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. I think now I'm going to stop for now, and then maybe we'll go back and touch it and play with it a bit more later. Okay, so I don't need my thin brush anymore. Okay, so just see how everyone's doing. Oh, hi, Pauline from Louisiana. Awesome. Andrea says I suck at blending, so this is neat. My sky looks a bit scary. Well, it can be a bit scary when a storm's coming in, so that's all good. And thanks, Diane. I'm glad you like the blend. That's awesome. And hi from your... Oh, let's see. Oh, and Diane's in Florida. Awesome. Hi, Asif. I'm glad you're tuning in from Massachusetts. I hope you're having a great time. And thanks for the love, Joe. That's really sweet. Oh, you just got home from the spa. I'm so jealous. That's amazing. I hope you had a fantastic time. I don't even know. Like, I couldn't even tell you the last time I've been to a spa. Like, probably like over 15 years or something. Like, I don't even know. I think my friend worked at the spa when we were in our 20s. And she got us like access to it, and I think that was like the last time. So I'm so jealous. That is so cool. Okay, so now that I have what I kind of want to do with my sky, and again, I might still play with, like right now, I don't like the way the lines look, but I know I just have to like trust it and then continue going, and then maybe we'll change it. I don't know. So I'm gonna move away from that for a bit, and then I'll go back to it and revisit it in a little bit. So I want to put in my horizon line just so I have my guide as to where things are living, essentially. I'm also noticing there's a lot of bright yellow like under here. So you know what, actually before I move on to that spot, I'm just going to make my yellow a little brighter underneath this area here. There's some really nice, it's a really nice bright yellow here. I'm just using my thin brush just to like pop in this burst of color. For my white, just to mix it in a bit. Tricky when it's a thin brush. Yeah, I like that. That's just going to add that pop that we're going to want. Okay, cool. Before I do the ground. Okay, let's do that now. Let's go to the ground. Okay. Alright, I think I'm going to use, I don't know, maybe on a medium-sized brush for now. We'll see how I want to do this. Okay. And I'm going to just put like a green, basically like a green line across, although it will change a bit because we have some different like shadows happening, but just to give me like a good visual as to where that's happening across. So if you need to mix your green, you just want to use your blue and your yellow. Or if you're pre-mixed green, you can use that. I think I'm going to mix my blue and my yellow and see the type of green that I get, and then decide how I want to go with that. I'm just mixing that right now on my palette. And again, this is just to give me a guide, so I'm going to be painting on top of it or playing with it. It's just going to give us our line that we need to get everything else going, so don't stress too much. Now, if you want it to be perfect, you may want to use either a ruler or some other guide. I'm going to just use my eye and hope for the best. So I'm just going to that's really pretty green. I'm not going to stress about it being like perfectly straight and below it, because we're going to be again playing with it and adding more stuff to it. Okay, let me just hold it so I can kind of see. Oh yeah, that's crooked. That will make it better. Yes. Okay. There we go. And that's what eyeballing does. You just make any mistakes as you go, but that's okay. It's fine. Okay. So I have my line of where I want this to live, which is good. Okay. I want this out a bit more so I can see it easier. That comes over. Like that. Yes, okay, you guys can still see it and I can see it a little bit better. That's perfect. Oh, hi Sue from Baltimore. Awesome. Hi Diane in Washington. Very cool. Hi Jody. Oh, I love how you have the shamrocks there. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow for anyone who enjoys celebrating. Okay, so what I want to play with first, I think, is I really want to put in some of those trees in the background. I know I should probably put some more green in first. You know what? I should just put some more green in first. Since my green is nice and already on my brush. So I'm just going to put in a little bit back here, because back here you can't really see what's going on. It's just some green fields. Would that be cool? This would be a fun picture to put in some shamrocks in instead, maybe. That'd be kind of neat. Okay. And then over here too, we have like a nice like row of green happening. And it kind of comes out not far down. And again, this line is just a little bit after. We have like this green here and then these trees. I'm just going to create like a little bit of a base for that. And we have more green kind of coming down. I think I'm going to keep this a nice green base across here. Okay, so we have a little bit of green happening. Maybe that went a little bit too far down, but we can make it work as a base for later. Okay, I'm not going to do any more, I don't think, though. Not yet. I'm going to go back and I want to put in some of those trees in the background. For those trees, you could use like a really, really, really dark green if you wanted. They look more black to me, so I'm just going to use my black paint on my thin brush. And the way I'm going to do those, so there's like a group of like 4 or 5 of them here. So I'm just going to put a line. And then there's a little further, if I can see on kind of just comes out. And I want it to be a little, like, you can still see through some of them leaves at the top. And it's pretty thick at the closer to where the trunk is. Just a little let's go a little bit lower. Okay, so got a little tree in the background. Okay. Let's put in another one. Over here. There's my outside. So I just kind of dab it in, like, I keep the bottom like a straight line, and then I just dab around the top, or around the top of the exterior of the tree, and then I'm just going to keep it darker in the center. But I still want to kind of dab so it has like the feeling of all the different things. You can kind of see some of the sun poke in. Do more here, I think. Nope, can't even see that. Put a little branch in.